It's time for my model predictions for Christmas Day. Last week the model went 9-7, another profitable week, and my best bets went 3-2. I started using this model in week 11, and so far this model is 54-36 for a 60% win rate. Now, if you're experienced in sports betting, you know the NFL market is very tight, especially against the spread. So a 60% win rate over the last 6 weeks is very good, I have to say. I'm not sure if week 17 is going to be good for this model. In the last 2 weeks of the NFL season, a lot of crazy things happen. Teams that are out of playoff contention oftentimes rest their star players. Sometimes they want to keep them fresh, make sure they don't have any serious injuries for next season. And teams that are in the playoffs and can't improve their seeding often rest their best players to make sure they're healthy for the playoffs. So a lot of crazy things happen in week 17 and 18. So I don't have a lot of confidence in any kind of prediction models for the last 2 weeks of NFL season. An example of this uncertainty is the following. We have 3 third-string quarterbacks starting for their respective teams on Christmas Day. I'm sure the NFL did not have this in plan when they scheduled these teams. Let me introduce you to these players. In the 1 o'clock game, I'm pretty sure the Washington Commanders are going to start Josh Johnson at quarterback. Now, he's a veteran player. He was drafted way back in 2008 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's played in 48 NFL games. He's 213 for 367 for a 58% completion rate with 13 touchdowns and 17 interceptions and a 69.5 quarterback rating. He's a veteran among these 3 third stringers. And he's facing the Cowboys defense that, according to many metrics, is the worst in the league. So among these third stringers, he might have the best matchup on Christmas Day. In the afternoon game, we have Max Brosnan starting for the Minnesota Vikings. He's an undrafted rookie. He's played in 5 NFL games. He's 31 for 47 for a 66% completion rate, which is really good, but he has 0 TDs and 4 interceptions and a quarterback rating of 41.1. Now, those 4 interceptions came against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, a very tough defense. And he faces the Lions defense, which is really bad against the pass. So he also has a good matchup on Christmas Day. And finally, we have Chris Oladokun. It took me a long time to figure out how to pronounce that name. He was drafted in 2022 by the Steelers, and in the last 3 years, he's been on and off the practice squad for the Chiefs. And last weekend against the Titans, he was 11 for 16 for a 69% completion rate, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 88.3 quarterback rating. But guess what? He faces the Denver Broncos defense, one of the top 3 defenses in the league. Now, I'm not mentioning these quarterbacks to cast any shade on them. In fact, I always root for the underdogs, and I'd love to see nothing more than one of these quarterbacks really go off to surprise a lot of people. However, when you make your bets on Christmas Day, just remember these 3 quarterbacks are all the third options on their respective teams, but they're all playing at home as well. Let me know in the comments below which of these quarterbacks you think is going to have the best day on Christmas Day. Me personally, I'm going with the veteran Josh Johnson because the Cowboys defense is so weak. Let's get to the predictions. In the 1 o'clock game, the Cowboys are 7-point favorites on the road against the Commanders, and the model thinks the Cowboys are going to win 29-22. Well, this looks like a stalemate, and I really like the Cowboys defense, but their offense is one of the best offenses in the league, and I trust Dak Prescott here. So I'm going to personally pick the Cowboys -7 to cover the spread, with 51 total points to go over 50.5. In the 4:30 game, the Lions are 7.5-point favorites on the road against the Vikings, and model thinks the Lions are going to win 24-18. So I would have picked the Vikings +7.5 to cover the spread at home. Now, this is a very difficult game to pick here, because I strongly believe the Lions are going to cover the spread. I'll tell you why in a second. But the Vikings beat the Lions earlier this year in Detroit 27-24. Of course, I had J.J. McCarthy, a quarterback, there for that game. And the Vikings defense is very tough. But if the Lions can score 24 points and keep the Vikings to under 18 points, I think they can cover the spread. And here's yet another reason why I'm going to pick the Lions. This trend. Teams that lost as home favorites against divisional opponents covered the spread rate of 60.3% in the second game. That's called the revenge game. And because the Lions were 9.5-point favorites at home in week 9, and they lost to the Vikings 27-24, this is definitely a revenge game for the Lions. Plus, of course, the Lions know they need this game to make the playoffs. So for those 2 reasons, I'm going to go against the model and pick the Lions -7.5 to cover the spread. In fact, that's going to be my first best bet for week 17. With 42 total points, it's going to go under 43.5. In the 8:15 game, the Broncos are 13.5-point favorites on the road against the Chiefs. That's a huge spread. And of course, no one would have thought the Broncos would be 13.5-point favorites on Christmas Day before this season started. And because the Broncos defense is an elite defense, and the Broncos are still fighting for the #1 seed in AFC, I can see why the spread number is so big. And the model thinks the Broncos will win 24-12. So the model picks the Chiefs +13.5 against the spread. And I just said that Oladokun is going to have a tough time against the Broncos defense. But the Broncos offense is actually about average, and the Chiefs defense is pretty decent. So maybe Bo Nix and the Broncos don't score as many points, and the Chiefs keep it within 13.5. With 36 total points to go under 36.5. And that's the last prediction for this video. Hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck on Christmas Day, and let's go!